the voice and face, the real CamFam on Twitch.
And I'm Justin, the off-screen voice you hear on Twitch, and this is the CamFam campaign from TheRealCamFam.
So let's get started on how exactly we came up with this week's topic.
Yeah, this one's fun. This one's not, it's not good and evil. It's not just, it's a little of everything. So
this one came up because we love to travel around and just basically joyride in our area in different locations.
Yeah, anywhere we
finding different weird historical areas that are safe and open to go explore.
We literally just talked the other day, it might have been yesterday, where you had said we need to take a trip out sometime to the west again, to the Midwest. And I had said that will take us weeks because we would stop at every obscure location, haunt, spooky looking place, abandoned building that we can access legally from the road or something that and take pictures. So we don't get into trouble, but we get ourselves into trouble. So we get ourselves into some areas because we love it. And luckily, our daughter, our whole family loves doing this. Our daughter begs us sometimes. Can we just drive around and go find some spooky places?
We have masters in history.
And
our history, it doesn't matter if it's actual history, Revolutionary War, or any of that.
Or the history of pop culture.
But the history of pop culture is where our basic love really dives in.
Sure. So how does that play into hive minds? Are we biologists all of a sudden as well? No.
What happened was we had gone and visited a site, and my daughter loves collecting rocks.
Yes.
She likes collecting them from various locations, basically, the shape or the color.
Even the historical significance.
Even possible
we've gotten some, they're not marked or labeled, but we've gotten some right from Natural Bridge. Now we have some from different buildings. We never destroy anything.
If it's already on the ground, we'll take the smallest piece we can.
We would never, ever,
So we have pieces of pig iron even from iron forges around.
Yep.
But she had moved a rock.
She wanted to get a rock from an old historical building.
That was
the
on
structure.
The ground.
That was on the ground.
But she had moved a rock and disturbed a colony of ants.
Boy, did she disturb them.
I have placed that video in the opening credits so that you can see it. If you missed it and skipped it, please go back.
But it brought this to the surface, didn't it?
It
really did. Because she was enthralled with what was going on. So
exactly. She just saw the way the ants moved together.
A call to action.
Just basically all swarmed in and just raced.
To correct whatever they could and protect each other.
Exactly. It shocked her.
It did. She talked about it all day. She was just like, that was really cool. So that brought up the conversation about hive minds.
Now, nature has some amazing hive minds.
I mean, there's ants. But what else would be a hive mind? Bees. Okay, so bees. And bees and ants have
the name of the hive.
Yeah, and they have a leader.
Always a queen.
They have a queen.
Is it always
for them? It is. For them, it is. They never put men in charge. They looked at humans. They realized this wasn't working for them for 8,000 years. Yeah. So let's just keep the women in charge. And so they do. We famously know ants have a queen bee. You have a queen ant. All of these.
Really, you got that a little mixed up there.
What, a queen bee?
No, you said queen ant and queen bee.
Either way, we have queen ants, queen bees all over the place. But we also have other queens and leaders in charge of hive minds.
Yes.
So, what are some famous ones that come to your mind?
Let's see. We have the Borg.
How insignificant of a hive mind. Possibly the best case study in pop culture hive minds that I know of.
So what we did...
There may be others. This isn't all of them. Gosh, no.
There are so many out there. There's so many that are in video games we have not played. There are so many in movies we have not watched. What we did was chose our top 5.
Yeah, from genres that we're familiar with.
There is one in particular that does not have a leader.
There is. So let's see if they can figure it out first and tell us. But first, the Borg. As you said, the Borg have a leader. They definitely have a leader. Yep. They have the Borg queen and a singular focus. So one thing we've got is that if that queen makes a decision, no one within the ranks is going to go against that decision.
Exactly.
That's their decision, too.
Exactly.
They're one mind, because that's the definition. If we want to the definition of a
collective
hive
consciousness that are work together in a unified unit.
unit. That is a great way to look at it. A single unit, but collective consciousness. Collective unit.
That also assimilates outsiders.
Yes,
And they
absolutely.
will reject and kill those that either fight or are not
Yeah,
perfect
if they're going to
for
upset that
their
flow of
balance.
information.
Exactly.
So a hive mind then is basically mob mentality.
No.
Okay.
No.
So then what is the differentiation there between that? Because a mob mentality
Would be that like a stampede.
a stampede. Yeah, that would be a good example.
The head horse is not always going to know
Yeah.
what's going on in the back, what danger is lying
exactly
behind them.
Or vice versa. They don't know. They know they're got to run.
But there is a difference. When I talked about this earlier with you, there is a difference between a stampede and a migration.
Sure, there is.
Because somehow the migration of an elk, if you watch it on any documentary, you're going to see that they all know the
walk
path
the same
to
path.
take. They all know the path to take, the
Sure.
lines in their path and everything like that, and they know the obstacles of which they need to jump, hurdle,
Yep.
whatever. When you're running in a stampede, and we see a very common one with the elk in Lion King,
Sure.
they're just gonna run because there's danger.
Yeah.
The hyenas are there
Those
to
just
eat
get
their
together,
asses,
run.
basically.
And so that's different. That's mob mentality, where they're basically, they all maybe have a same goal.
Get out
But
of danger.
What we decided between us is that in our understanding of a hive mind, the different idea is information.
Yeah.
Information tends to be the delineating factor. So a mob mentality, they may all be, you may have 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things working towards the same goal, effort, focus, but they don't all share the same set of facts.
So in Star Trek Next Generation, the Borg take over two very important people that have a huge benefit to the Borg for information.
To bring them into their
One
fold,
of
and they
which
got it.
is Picard. Picard has a vast knowledge. He's a captain of his own ship. He has traveled everywhere that you could possibly imagine within that universe. Then there's Data.
Data, who, listen to his name. If you don't know who Data is, the android computer.
Exactly. Data is the smartest being that there can be.
That they could possibly.
That the
outside
Borg
of godhood.
would benefit from.
Yeah.
Oh, godhood?
Yeah, well.
Q.
But luckily they never assimilated Q, or else they could have just probably manifested
And then,
an entire universe.
Yeah, you want to... here's an honorable mention towards Star Trek, though. Q. Q can assimilate anybody, anything.
So...
Q in himself is a hive mind.
He is. But luckily they never combined, because that would have been terrible. But, so Q reminds me of someone else then. Unity. From Rick and Morty. Numerous seasons. We're not going to go over which episode, because there are numerous repeat characters.
She's number 2 on our list.
Because of the similarity to Q and his ability to single-handedly create a hive mind.
Exactly.
And that kind of explains it. I feel like it does a great job of breaking down how a hive mind can work.
Exactly.
Because if Unity takes over 1,000 people in a city, those 1,000 people are Unity. They are a single being.
She can control them so that it seems like on the surface to any outlier that there is still free will, but she can communicate through any one of them.
And now, here's the big thing. Is that free will their free will, or still Unity's free will? Say she takes over a suburb, and Jim Bob is mowing his lawn because it's Saturday morning in his nice New Balance shoes. Did Unity make that decision? Or did she allow Jim Bob to make it?
That is a very
If she allowed Jim Bob to make it, then that's not free will for Jim Bob. And if she made it, well, then she's just part of the hive mind and collectively controlling her people, knowing she can do that. Now, the difference between the Borg and Unity, I think one thing that
Unity
is different...
does not search
not the Borg.
information.
Sure, exactly. The Borg, the hypothetical Q hive mind that he can do, that we have seen examples of, or Unity, is that it's not a choice to share information. It is a constant, ever-flowing access to information.
Yeah.
So Unity knows what every one of hers is doing.
Or controlees.
But is she controlling them when, in fact, in that context, they are her?
Yeah, that's true.
That's a whole different... It's a whole, like, metaphysical, deeper dive into it.
That's psychological.
It is. It's like, how much... It's like... It's almost like a psychological paradox. Like, if we go deeper, it's like, are they her, or is it her controlling them?
Exactly.
At which point does she so fully control their consciousness that they have decided to be Unity?
Exactly.
You know, so that's a great example of just a pure hive mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good way to break them down, either a pure, basically a hive mind, because there's some that are basically a hive mind, like Cybermen.
Cybermen have one leader, and it's just the cyber leader.
It's mostly,
but they don't really play into who he is too much.
They really don't, other than the
series.
couple of times that they designate basically who's going to be the lead actor or actress talking for them. Essentially,
Exactly.
I feel like it's more of a stylistic or creative choice than it is a canonical choice.
Yeah.
Because they pretty much are just indicating who's going to talk for the Cybermen.
Exactly.
Because they're all, otherwise they'd have to work out the microphones and the helms with all of the different ones, and you wouldn't know, they all look the same. So you're not going to know,
is the hive mind,
you know, so they make one
that,
a little different. He has a little different antenna on his head, or in the one case of the Industrial Revolution, where they have the Cyber Queen leader, essentially. And she's just, against her own will, she wants power, and they go, okay, you want power? Here it is.
Yeah.
She didn't want it that way, though. But
Exactly.
that's how she got it, is she became the central server, essentially, for all of the Cybermen. Because when you get into Cybermen, a little more even than Borg, you're getting into the technological aspect of a hive mind.
because basically what they do is they had a factory in one of their universes, one of the episodes, where we meet Pete Tyler for the second time, but he's the separate universe Pete Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where him and Jackie are still together, but Rose doesn't exist on that world,
because
that universe.
he was obsessed with work and success. So.
Yes, but what happens is they built a factory and started basically taking all the humanoids that were there, and I'm going to call them humanoids, using that loose term there.
Because they are from a different version of Earth, so are they exactly humans?
Exactly, it's a different universe within that.
So
but they bring them all in through the factory and assimilate them into Cybermen.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a few that are throughout the series that fight these Cybermen, basically the technology
mind control,
within the mind control.
wipe. Yeah.
Exactly. And one of them is one of the rebel leaders that were in that particular episode. Mm-hmm. And then later on, there's one, Danny Pink.
Good old Danny Pink.
Who
in the
fought,
Clara 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi years.
Yep.
You have Danny Pink.
But basically, anybody who was there got turned into a Cyberman or they were killed. Mm. Either you are perfect to be a Cyberman because your brain is easy to manipulate, or you are
just eliminated. Because you're not gonna help. That all being said, it really brings to the surface that there's at least 3 different types of hive mind that we've seen. You have a technological hive mind, you have a psychic hive mind, and then you have a biological hive mind.
Yep.
I think we've seen that in us talking about it, and that's why I love these episodes and I love us talking, is it really allows us to further our understanding, or at least further what we believe to be our understanding of something.
Well, that's where we're getting nerdy about it. We're digging in.
Yeah, we're digging in, and we're just trying to geek out about it, because the Borg, then the Cybermen, and then an honorable mention we have are all technological ones.
Yeah.
Mostly. The Borg are a biological / technological.
Yeah.
The Cybermen, you could say the same, but it's strictly a process of the technology that makes them part of the hive mind.
Exactly.
Whereas we do have an honorable mention within this same universe that's similar,
And that's the Daleks.
The Daleks. They're very similar.
We had a discussion on whether or not they would be considered a mob mentality or a hive mind.
Yes.
Would they have so many similarities to a hive mind when it comes to their shared knowledge, their assimilations, their
shared focus, desire,
their same focus, their talk. The when they talk, more often than not, they talk as a collective.
Yeah, they're either unified or echoed. One of the two, where they're in the same, they're dialed in.
Exactly.
But there's a slight difference that I see that makes it a non-pure collective.
And that would have to be with the way the universe, the Doctor Who universe is written, is that there's the timelines.
Because time's not linear.
Yes, because Doctor Who, or 10th Doctor says it perfectly. Time is not linear, it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Stuff.
You're
Exactly.
not going to see a straight
which
line
is hard for
within Doctor Who.
Both us, and I'm sure for you, to understand. Unless you're Neil deGrasse Tyson watching this with us, I feel like it'd be hard for you to fully wrap your head around, because I know I can't, and we do this all the time. The idea of when time's not linear.
Exactly.
So to spell that out, there are times where a scourge goes forward in the future. Okay? They hurl through the future. So why don't common modern Daleks have that information? If they were a hive mind in its true sense, they would at least have access to that information.
So we mentioned last episode about Rose reigniting the knowledge in the Daleks and basically reminding the Daleks who the Doctor was. Re-imprinting humankind on
that is an important distinction that you mentioned, because that definitely puts them, if you don't know what a Dalek is, go back, watch last week's episode, or go outside and talk to some people. But the Dalek is, when she touched it, I think what we saw is it's a purely technological collective.
Yep.
Because it was a technological process. When she touched it, it absorbed a sample of her DNA.
Exactly.
So, and therefore unlocked her information as well. And then
later on, when there's the war between the Daleks and the Cybermen trying to take over Earth and assimilate, both are trying to assimilate everything.
Yeah. They both want everyone.
She's basically like, you know who I am.
Yeah.
You know who the Doctor is. And it's,
they wisely kind of turn them on each other.
Exactly.
But also, they didn't have to do much work, because if you have two hive minds, even if one is a pure and one is a less pure, but they're still zealot.
Exactly.
They're just going to take each other out.
Exactly.
And then the bystanders can just clean up the mess afterwards.
But they're basically going to fight for superiority.
Yeah, they definitely are. So we have unity we talked about. Unity is a psychic one, okay? That is a psychic connection, and just like Q, in which you could also, if you're going to go with Qs, then you could blend in with another bomb drop here. I'm going to go with Scarlet Witch. She created an entire reality.
That's true.
Where she was also able to control entire people.
That
but
is true.
She didn't have a real-time access to their information. They were just there for, just to create, just to be people.
Because she was trying to escape her own reality.
She was, but could she control an entire hive mind?
That is true.
She created them, but did she create them with free will, or did she create them with the proxy of free will? Like,
I think
going
hers
through
was
emotions.
a proxy.
It might have been a proxy, but still a psychic collective.
Yeah.
Okay? And then biological. We have to have some biological examples outside of real nature, ants, bees. Are there any biological examples in pop culture that we can think of?
The Last of Us.
We
have one that actually, theirs is based off of the Ophiocordyceps, which is actually a real life fungus.
Which has been fascinating. And this is what makes this topic, to me, so fun, so fascinating. Is it's partially real.
Exactly. What I've understood about the Orpheocordyceps is it usually attaches itself to ants and becomes basically a zombie ant.
A symbiote. It becomes a symbiote where they merge together.
We could do a whole.
Oh, if we dive into symbiotes and stuff, and we will later on down the road. How can we have a series and we won't talk about symbiotes? When we say we're geeks about everything, we mean everything. Even if it's not our thing, we love that there's people out there who geek out about it. Spider-Man and his universe, not my top one, but of course I love it. I love all of it because it's art. It's an expression of real human emotions and values.
Venom and the Black Symbiote.
Yeah, Venom for your symbiote and your Carnage symbiote. When I was younger and first learning about Spider-Man, I would say it was the symbiotes who brought me in. So I am excited in the future for us to talk about symbiotes. But the fact that a fungus can essentially act as a symbiote with a living insect.
Exactly.
So that means it could do it with a human.
Yep.
That means it could do it with a tree. It could tap into any. And if we've looked at fungal systems, root systems, plant systems, leaves upside down, turn it up, what do you see but a nervous system?
Exactly.
Meaning it can rope in. And yes, it's a scary thing. Yes, we look at it and go, that's not going to happen. It's probably not. I'm going to tell you, a fungus. I'm not some wacko who thinks, a fungus is just going to attach to our psychic, our nervous system and control us psychically. But I'm saying it's possible.
And it's freaky.
It is freaky because what is stopping it? If it can do it with an ant, what is stopping it from doing it to a human?
Well,
at all.
If we really dig into history, there is a couple of times that fungus has actually played a really big role
absolutely,
in how our minds actually worked, and one of them was ergot.
The ergot poisoning in the mold, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that, what you remember.
So, what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the ergot mold that had gotten into the wheat system, and it basically kind of set off a witch hunt, because it basically gave the same effects of what people were claiming were
demonic possession and stuff.
Or witch claims, the hot and cold, and convulsions. They couldn't explain it.
Even people speaking in tongues, just weird. They were getting delusional.
Exactly.
And it was a mold.
Exactly.
And then so where do we see that in pop culture?
The scourge.
The scourge. We see that in real life. So ergot poison, a real thing we had, is the basis for the poisoned grain in Stratton.
It is.
And it is actually the legitimate basis. If you don't think World of Warcraft is interwoven within our civilization and consciousness, when COVID-19 happened, where did they go to study pandemic patterns?
Exactly.
They went to World of Warcraft because we did it first. We did COVID in World of Warcraft before COVID came to Earth, and that was because of the zombie plague.
The ergot mold, the ergot wheat that we had, nobody knew what it was back then.
No one knew what germs were yet.
There has been a big study of it now. There's plethora of information out there. You can go look it up. But it was one of the lead culprits for the 1600s witch
trials. The 17th century witch
trials in Salem, because they had gotten a hold of tainted wheat.
Yep.
And it's all tied to all those families.
So, question, what would have happened if in the first one, if somebody would have went and burnt all the wheat?
Maybe we would have had witch trials.
What would have happened if the first couple of people who got the poisoning, ergot poisoning, were taken out of their misery? I'm not advocating. I don't know these people. I don't know what their symptoms were, and we tended to overreact a little bit in the 17th century.
And we had that play out as a possibility in the Culling of Strathcombe.
In the Culling of Strathcombe. And what is he? Arthas is a villain to us. If you go back and you look at some of our previous videos, you know we don't necessarily see that. He is a villain in some ways, but not the villain made out to be. Not at first.
Yeah.
Because his whole goal was to just get rid of the poisoning. And we see that in real life. We had the ergot poisoning. So in WoW, we hadn't really talked about him yet. The Scourge. That one is a big one.
He takes over with the Helm of Domination and controls all the Scourge,
Yep.
basically tells them where to go, what to do. But there also is a question of, when you fight the Scourge, do they still act as a complete unit? Or are they...
They're mobby. They're a bit mobby.
Yeah.
They are a bit mobby. I would almost put them as a Dalek level honorable mention. They are a hive mind when they have a leader.
Exactly.
But then they're a mob mentality when they don't have a leader. That's the entire reason for Bolvar ascending the throne and taking the Helm of Domination when Arthas is defeated, was he understood that they could not be let to just go.
Exactly.
Because they would just run rampant and just kill everything, because that's all they knew. Whereas at least if they had somebody to control them, he could keep them at bay.
Exactly.
So he does that. And the reason why he's able to do that is a very, it's a wonderful story. People dig on Shadowlands all the time, and it's great that they come back to finish out that story. But spoiler alert, 15, 17 years ago, Wrathgate. Angathar the Wrathgate. Bolvar is fighting against the Scourge that we're fighting there and Deathwing's forces. And he is, in order to take out the Scourge, Alexstrasza has to blast them with fire. Finally, she has to. Alexstrasza, who never wants to kill anyone or anything, but this is the Scourge. They are an affront to life, so she can take them out. She breathes her fire, but there was someone who didn't get out of the way, Bolvar Fordragon.
Yep.
Bolvar is killed by the fire of Alexstrasza, who is the Lifebinder. So she basically suspended him in a permanent state of undeath. And so he could wear the helm. He wasn't evil, though. So he could wear the helm and control the Scourge until it was broken, and now they're a mob again. So
basically this is a kind of turned in more to a 6 degrees of separation kind of episode, if you think about it.
Of course, they all are.
We all have some kind of tie to another thing.
Yeah.
And mine is an honorable mention that we hadn't really discussed previously, was Z Nation and their leader, the lead of the show, Murphy.
Sure.
Murphy had been bitten, and he had also been injected with a serum, because this is zombies. They're trying to figure out a cure to the whole zombie thing.
Yeah.
And as if you've seen Resident Evil and all them and any other zombie show, there's no cure. Basically, they're dead.
There's never a cure. Yeah,
they're dead, but somehow still alive.
That's why we'll put out there on the internet what we've said for over 20 years. If I'm bit, take me out. Okay? Don't wait for the cure.
There is no cure.
There is no cure.
But Murphy's special. He survives not only zombie bites, but the serum.
Mm-hmm.
He somehow is able to tap into the brain waves of other zombies and basically kind of part them, like the scene being basically like, leave my family alone,
Sure.
The people that are helping me and everything. He's able to control them to get them to do stuff for him. He can enslave them with his mind.
Yeah.
But the most heartbreaking part of Z Nation is when there is a mob, a huge, 1,000 deep mob of these zombies, coming towards them. They direct them into a canyon of sorts, and he can feel their pain.
Yeah.
He can feel them dying. So if
when that psychic connection is cut off, I imagine it's
gotta be jolting. So if that is not a hive mind...
That's a hive mind. That's absolutely a hive mind. I would put it right there with the other sub-hive minds we have. But we had a couple that were what we call pure. Unity and the Borg are pure.
Yep.
Ants and bees are pure. And I would go with the fungus is pure from The Last of Us. And if the fungus is pure, then give me Stranger Things.
Okay, Stranger Things. Talk about it.
Like Vecna can see through the eyes of, control, and manipulate any of those in the Upside Down. Any that are connected to him. And I would say much in the way, it's a little more of a perverted version of the cordyceps.
Yeah.
It's just slightly different. But once again, it plays on psychic and biological.
Yes.
So we have psychic, biological,
Yep.
technological.
Yep.
Then we have biotechnological,
Yeah.
psychic technological, and psychobiological. We
Yep.
literally have a merging of every one of them. Every combination of those three things you see present in these.
Yes.
And the more overlap I think we see, the more pure the hive mind is.
Exactly.
So, that being said, anything more on hive minds? I mean, there's a ton more. We could
There's
talk
tons. There's plenty
forever,
that
but we only want to talk about what we know, not what we have to research.
We've
what we have
skipped over because we either don't know the video, the movie, the TV show,
And maybe,
the video game.
maybe you know one. Maybe you've got a hive mind that you're like, these people are crazy. There's way better examples. Tell us yours. Tell us ones that jump out from your genres, your games, your movies, your books, whatever it is that you love. Tell us those. And speaking of books, and speaking of Star Trek, we've got Q, we've got the Borg, we've got Picard. We didn't mention Geordi. We're going to go with our Geek of the Week, LeVar Burton.
Oh, yes.
Okay? You talk about how everything is connected. We are history majors who are geeks and love to read.
Yep.
That's LeVar Burton.
LeVar
right there.
Burton, I remember reading Rainbow very clearly.
Okay, you remember reading Rainbow.
Yes.
You saw Roots.
Loved
you watched TNG. Come on, this man is core to us being geeks. And he still to this day makes no excuses, makes no bones. Reading is fundamental. Never take it away.
Exactly.
You don't ban libraries. We don't get political on this show, but talking about free access to information shouldn't be political. Save libraries, protect reading, and encourage it. Okay?
Exactly.
So we will see y'all in a couple of weeks. Tell us who your favorite hive mind is, or least favorite. That might be even better. You might be more passionate about that.
Nominate next week's
and nominate your Geek of the Week.
Tell us what topics you want
maybe
us to
it's
cover.
you. Maybe you want us to nominate you as the Geek of the Week. Tell us why.
Bye, guys.
Bye.